Once we found out, I immediately called Prophecy Watchers and at Skywatch TV and other people and said, don't run the story. It's a hoax. It's a fake.
Aliens are in the headlines again, and this time in Mexico. There was a public congressional hearing that actually they displayed what looked like alien corpses that had been mummified. And we as Christians need to know what is real and what is fake, and we need to be able to have discernment. And so with us today is, again, L.A. Marzulli. It's great to have you back to be able to talk about a very interesting subject that you've been, I would say that you're an expert in, because you've done so much research from a spirit-filled Christian perspective. So it's great to be able to hear your insight about this new development that's been revealed in Mexico.
Well, again, thanks for having me on, I appreciate the accolade and the kudos. Thank you.
Yeah. So, LA, I think these pictures of these ET looking aliens, that they look very short and they've got these faces that are jutted forward, and there's a lot of questions about these things. What are they exactly? And I know the person that is presenting this actually has, you have a little bit of a history with this guy.
I do.
So I would like to talk about that. So let me just turn it over to you and let you talk about this.
Well, in the first place, there's no provenance for any of these objects. And that, any researcher knows, any archaeologist, anybody who's in this field, if you see something, you immediately stop. If you uncover something, you stop, you put down a ruler, a marker, a yardstick, a dollar bill, something, a foot, something, a hand size, something. And you show where this thing was found in situ. That's huge. There's no provenance for this thing. Strike one right off the bat. Oh, it came from a cave in Peru. How many times have we heard that? What cave? It's just like all these, in my opinion, bogus artifacts coming out of Mexico again with the alien heads and all this and flying saucers. And it's, in my opinion, we never know where the cave is. I saw those artifacts close to 12, 15 years ago in a private collection, and I looked at the guys at the same thing. There's no provenance. Without provenance, it means doodly squat, because there's no connection. I'll just give you an example. We, in our possession, is actually Chief Joseph Riverwind has it. It's in our new film, Out of Place Artifacts, which will be released soon. But there's two series, the UFO series and the On Trail of a Nephilim series. Mm-hmm. We found a lance in Michigan. A gentleman found this. It's about 3 feet in length. It's bronze. We've had it tested. We've had molecular studies done on this thing, and we find the isotopic ratios originate in Saudi Arabia. So it's a bronze artifact, and it's found in the middle of nowhere. The problem is we don't know where it's not in situ. It was found at an abandoned campsite by this guy in the middle of nowhere in Michigan. And it's old. It's very old. It's been cold work. It's hammered. It's got a sharp edge. It's a lance. It's like, what's interesting, the weight of it is the same weight, about 28 and a half pounds, as Ishni Benab's spear that we read about in the Bible. Just saying. Very, very interesting. So, that's a deep dive. But again, it's without provenance of that article. My gosh, if we could only know where it was dug up or found, or how it was left we have none of that. We have none of that. So there's no provenance. So we did the backstory with it. We tested it. Well, it's just, and we found isotopic ratios found in Saudi Arabia, also found in Michigan, but they're also found in Saudi Arabia. So which one do you go with? And that's, who knows, right? The bottom line with this is, number one, there is no provenance. We don't know where they come from. Number two, it looks to me like a construct. And having been involved in this for decades and been fooled once, it looks like a construct. So X-rays can fool you. Let me explain how. A number of years ago, by the same gentleman, Richard Shaw, the late Richard Shaw, and I went down to Mexico City to film Jaime Maussan in his workshop. He's got
And Jaime Maussan is the guy that's presenting this right now.
correct.
Yeah.
Jaime Maussan is the lead ufologist in Mexico. He has the longest running weekly television program that deals with this. It's way up there. Millions of people watch him every single week. So we went down to interview Jaime. We spent a couple of days there. It was great. We were treated wonderfully. He's a great guy. I have no axe to grind with Jaime. But Richard and I walk in to his office. We're second floor. We're ushered in. Jaime goes, "I've got to shoot television programs. I'll be down in about an hour. In the meantime, look at this." Jaime reaches behind him and he opens up a cabinet and takes out this jar. And in the jar's about this high, about a foot high, suspended in formaldehyde is this fairy, very demonic looking head, wings, tail. Richard and I are just going, "Oh my gosh, what is this?"
Mm-hmm.
So after an hour, Jaime comes down and this is all on film, and our watch was film, and we begin to deconstruct this. Jaime begins to tell us where he got it, what's going on, the x-rays, the geneticists have looked at it. They've taken DNA. It's an unknown primate. Different disciplines have come in to look at the thing. There's been x-rays taken. Veterinarians have looked at it. Everyone believes it's real. So we write about it. It's in our Watchers film. We talk about it. It's in the book that and at the very end of that little chapter about the fairy, I write this: as of this writing, I believe it's real, but more research needs to be done. So there's a caveat there. There's a caveat. I'm not saying, "Oh my gosh, we got to brace ourselves, they're coming." I went with it because all the evidence leaned that way, including I bought the pictures, the x-rays, to a veterinarian here in the Santa Monica Mountain region. And the veterinarian looked at the x-rays and he said, he wouldn't come on the record. Most of these guys won't. But he just basically said that, "I think it's real. From what I'm looking at, I see the pellets from a shotgun. It looks like someone shot this thing out of the air." Okay, so fast forward several months later, we arranged to have Jaime bring it up across the border. So this cost us thousands of dollars to bring this gentleman up. Plus, we had 3 veterinarians on standby, x-ray machines, the whole 9 yards, on a Saturday at a veterinarian down in Agora. So the gentleman with the glass jar with the fairy, he arrives. We look at the thing. Everybody's oohing and ahhing. Everyone, all 3 vets, they're all looking at each other going, "Oh my gosh, you've got to be kidding me." So this thing's been suspended in formaldehyde for years. And we take it out very gently, we reach in, take the thing out, put it on a tray, put the tray under the x-ray machine. There's 3 vets there. They're used to seeing x-rays. They know what they're looking for. So at the end of 10, 15 minutes of looking at the x-rays, everybody thinks it's real. We're going, wow. We're looking at where the pellets are. The shotgun pellets are still there. They're showing up very, very bright in the x-ray. So you got 3 veterinarians who are looking at this fairy and believing it's real. About 45 minutes to an hour goes by. This thing's been out of the formaldehyde. So I look down at the tray and I take a pair of forceps and I go, "What's this?" to the lead veterinarian. And I hold it up in front of him and he goes, "That looks like wood with 2 pieces of epoxy on either end." We go rushing back to the x-ray. Sure enough, once we got the clue, we were able to start to deconstruct it and realize it was a very clever hoax. Whoever did this was a great taxidermist. And later on, we took it up to the Natural History Museum in Santa Barbara and really deconstructed it. Oh, we've got bat wings. Oh, we've got the head of a bat that's been sort of, made to look this way. We've got the stinger on the tail was actually the finger of a squirrel. So the taxidermist was taking different animals and constructing it together. The arms, that piece that we found went here, was supposed to be the upper arm, but it was just a construct. It was wood with epoxy and then wrapped in something that looked like skin. So once we found out, and this is what real research is, once we found out, I immediately called Prophecy Watchers and Skywatch TV and other people and said, "Don't run the story. It's a hoax. It's a fake." I was on the phone with Jaime Maussan probably for 15 minutes trying to convince him, no, Marzulli, no, it has to be real. Jaime was fooled too. Jaime is
Mm.
not a huckster. Okay, he's not, in my opinion. All due respect, I like Jaime. He's a friend. So I'm not going to disparage him here. But it fooled him. It fooled everybody until we
Yeah.
did the proper research. I think that these so-called alien mummies are constructs. I have an email from a guy in the UK, a radiologist, who's taken a look at the X-rays from the internet, and he told me in an email where I'm waiting to Zoom him, and I'll record all that and go. He said to me, just from looking at it, it's a construct. There's different. Nothing is adding up. Exactly like what we saw with the fairies. So that's my take on it. Here's the problem with this. Several weeks earlier, in a congressional testimony, there was a whistleblower who came on the
Mhm.
record, Grush. And
And this
Grush,
is in the United States, right?
United States Congress.
Yeah.
So, first of all, you're under oath. And if you're lying under oath and they find out about that, you're in contempt. Guess what? You're going to be wearing
Yeah.
an orange suit for a while. So that's
Mhm.
the way that works. And I've looked at the body language in Grush. I've looked at the exchange between Representative Macy and Grush. Grush he's earnest, very earnest. He's eager. He's bold. He speaks with authority. His body language is very assertive. All those things are in pluses for him. He's not nervous. He's not fidgeting. He's not looking away. He's looking
Mhm.
right in the camera. He's in your face, in your face. So Representative Macy asked him, well, in these crashed UFOs, did you discover biologics? Were there bodies in the craft? And Grush looks right at the camera and says, yes, we found biologics. Whoa. And then Macy asked a follow-up question, are they human or non-human? And he leans
Mhm.
into the microphone, looks right at Macy. He's like this. I mean, he's like, the body language is, what I am telling you is 100% what I believe is the truth. That's my take on it. And Grush basically makes the incredible statement that yes, the biologics that we recovered are non-human. They are not human. And so you would think that in every church in the United States, pastors would be getting up talking about this, but they don't for the most part.
Mhm.
I've had a spike. People are starting to, gravitate and email and call, but it's not like anything like it should be. I mean, there should be every pastor in the United States has a duty, if I may be so bold, to warn their congregation of what is coming. We are being set up for something. There's no doubt about it. It's a question is, when will the so-called revealing of a so-called extraterrestrial presence really happen? I've got a theory on that, and it's based on decades of research. And with all the saber rattling that we see going on with nukes, and we know that UFOs are obsessed with nuclear plants. We can get into that if you want, but I have a theory, and I believe this is how it will come down. But the bottom
Yeah.
line is, our government has said that UFOs are real. Grush
Mhm.
stated before Congress that we have in our possession retrieved bodies from the craft. Well, I've known about this for decades from other whistleblowers, people underground, people who have come up to me at conferences, ex-agency people, and on it goes. So
Yeah.
it's nothing new to me as a researcher because this is my wheelhouse. This is what the Lord has called me to do. This is the coming great deception. And it ties back into the seed word, which we talked about when I was on last time, Genesis
Mhm.
3:15. There is, because they did not believe the truth, God sends them strong delusion. So we are seeing the beginnings of that strong delusion. And the strong delusion is, well, there is no God. We actually created all life on this planet, ET. Will say this when they show up. We created all life. We genetically manipulated early man. We started the Earth's civilizations, the Earth's earliest religions. Now, at this critical juncture in human history, we are back to usher mankind into a golden age. And the late Chuck Missler used to say this. He believed that the Antichrist would boast some sort of an alien connection, and I also believe that. So we are being set up for something. Here's the problem with the Mexican alien bodies and what Grush is saying. It
Mhm.
obfuscates everything. The Mexican thing on the heels of the congressional inquiry with Grush, The Mexican thing it just muddies the waters. It just obfuscates everything. So what's the real deal? Are these really the bodies, or are they paper mache? Is it a construct? Are they bones from other animals constructed to look like ET? And in my opinion, it's certainly the latter. This is a construct. What it does, just like all the films that we see about disclosure, about ET, it's like we're being set up for something. We literally are being set up for something. So when it happens, everybody kind of goes yawn. And here's something else. And I talked about this when I gave in my own show and talked
Mhm.
about the Mexican mummies. There was a picture that I found in the Catalina Island Museum. The archaeologists and anthropologists had already been out there. The backstory is this: they found this cache of records, this chest from the late Ralph Gooden, who had been missing. This chest, all these records were missing for decades, like 50 years. It made the front page news of the LA Times. I got wind of this. I flew out there. I met with John Borgino, who at the time was the curator of the museum. So it's after hours. I'm way in the back. There's a sealed vault there. It's open. Borgina goes, "What do you want to see?" In front of me, there's two tables, white cloth. I've got museum gloves on. I go, "Let's see
Mhm.
the pictures first." So they bring out two or three museum boxes with um, the pictures, and I start rummaging through the pictures. Well, here's the deal, and this is what people don't understand. I've spent time in museums, and they look like that's a museum box right there.
Yes. Okay.
That's what they look like. And I was hitting pay dirt in the first hour, which just blew me away. So this is the original picture that I discovered. And when I say I discovered it. I was the guy in the archives who went, "Wait a minute, there's something really wrong with this picture." So this
Hmm.
picture was analyzed by three separate researchers, analysts, who took the picture and deconstructed it. We know Glidden's height was 5'8". So after all three people, there was no collusion. They all gave me the results. It was around 9 foot. We found a 9-footer. We found one skeleton with 6 fingers, elongated skulls. This, in my opinion, these are the giants. These are the Nephilim, which came over here when Joshua and Caleb pressed the conquest of the Promised Land. So you say, well, what does this have to do with the Mexican stuff? Because before I found this picture, all over the internet, years before, there were these hoaxes of giant skulls and giant skeletons. And
Yeah. Yeah.
there's one in Thailand right now that an artist did with this giant wrestling a dragon. And it's a total construct. At least once a month, I get an email from somebody. "My gosh, LA, have you seen this?" "Yeah, I've seen it. It's done by an artist." The point I'm trying to make is that when you come up with a picture like this, everyone yawns and go, "Well, is this another fake? Is this just a bunch of hooey?" And this is the problem with the Mexican mummies. It's going to be found out, and I'm not a prognosticator, but I will say this: at some point, like the fairy, someone will deconstruct it, and they'll say, "This is a construct." And so when the real thing gets revealed, and this is what I take umbrage with. When the real thing gets revealed, you've got people who are yawning, and that's really problematic. So we're being set up for
Mhm.
something.
Yeah. So we have things that are real that are out there that are being found. And so when there's enough fake things that come to light and people treat it as real, then they're eventually going to be looking at the real thing and look at that and say, this doesn't matter. It's not important. It's not real. And then you can easily fall for the deception, for sure.
Yeah, and this
Yeah.
is, the Lord said that, let that even the elect would be deceived if that were possible. So, that's Jesus' own word. So when we look at that, even the elect would be deceived if that were possible. Thank God
Mhm.
that's included in that. So what's coming, or what is here, is will blow a lot of people out of the water for sure. And so
Yeah.
pastors need, I mean, there are a few of them that are doing it, but it's few and far between. And people actually get up and walk out if you start talking about UAPs or UFOs. Well, and this is the problem. I'll be speaking at the Prophecy Watchers Conference here in Oklahoma City soon. October 5th and 6th, whatever it is. And I'll be talking about cattle mutilations, our new film. And it's a very dark, grisly subject. But what people need to understand, this ties into the prophetic language that's found in our Bibles, specifically Daniel 2, verse 43. Because we are in the days of Noah. The dragon is getting ready for his final foray, and the revealing of the Antichrist and the tribulation. I mean, I think we're rapidly moving up to some event. And so things like this, once again, they obfuscate, they muddy the waters, they create a false narrative so that the true narrative becomes undermined. And that's the problem with all this. It's like AI. I'll give you one more example. So a really good friend of mine, I won't mention their names, but they're a married couple. They both work on this national radio show, and I've been on their show numerous times. I guess it would be okay to name them, but I'm not going to. Anyway, so she sends me this picture, and the picture shows this man, very disheveled, worn hat, tattered clothes, hasn't shaven, unkempt hair, barefoot, in the mountains in the middle of nowhere. And allegedly this picture was found in 1877, or the picture was taken in 1877, right around that time, and kept up in a trunk in somebody's attic. How many times do I have to hear this, right?
Right.
And that's it. It's always like that. And next to him is a 12 to 14 foot Sasquatch who's been wounded in the knee, so he's got like a cane thing. They're standing next to each other. It looks absolutely real. It is 100% authentic. You would hang your hat on that. She's freaked out. L.A. She sends me the picture. What do you think? And at first I go, wow, that's amazing. Then I start to study it. I call my friend who just passed away a couple of months ago, Scott Carpenter. He was a major Bigfoot Sasquatch researcher. And Scott took one look at the picture and he goes, AI. And I said, yeah, I agree. It's AI. And this is where we are, because now we really don't know what's real and what's been fabricated. And truth is being, just like prophecy tells us, truth is thrown to the street. And now it's up to this is why pastors, we have to do, I'm a pastor, but I don't have a church anymore because this is what I do. But pastors need to get up and warn their congregation, really need to warn and talk about this stuff as it's being leached out.
Yeah. So for the most people, it's too weird. It's too out there. It doesn't seem like it makes any sense. It seems like it's just crazy. And that, the only people that would talk about this are the people that would buy the tabloids at the grocery store. And, so if your pastor starts talking about it, it's really, how do you deal with this? So what advice would you give to pastors to actually start sharing about this stuff, to actually teach about it, to give the truth? What can pastors do?
Pastors basically can start by warning their congregation what's going on and do it from a biblical viewpoint. Go to Genesis 3:15, look at who's there, look at what Jesus tells the dragon and the woman what's going. It's prophecy. It's the first prophecy of the Bible. It's the first prophecy about Messiah. Your seed, the dragon's offspring, will be at war, at enmity with the offspring, the seed of the woman. The proto-evangelion, the Messiah coming from the woman, will crush the dragon's head. And the pastor can go, well, so it's a seed war. It's the offspring, which means that angels can reproduce. Oh my gosh, I didn't hear that in church. And that's the problem. We never hear that in church, but it's the offspring of the dragon. And we can tap dance around that till we're blue in the face. You can't change it. And then 3 chapters later, you get the manifestation of the Nephilim are on the earth. And then the Tower of Babel, where Nimrod becomes a Nephilim. You need to bring your congregation into the seed war, because the seed war is the entire basis for the biblical narrative. And the seed war, I just got this fairly recently. The Lord, Holy Spirit, gave me. I just love when the Lord opens something up that I've been in for decades and goes, "Hey, didn't look at this way, did you, punky?" And I didn't. And it was this. It was like when Joshua and Caleb go into the promised land, it's a full-blown manifestation of the seed war on both sides. On both sides. Because in the field are the Nephilim tribes, the Zanzumim, the Emims, the Rephaim, the Nephilim, the Anakim, the Zanzumim. They're all there. They're all there in the field of battle. And guess who's there? The seed of Abraham. Because when Abraham gets tapped out, that's when the dragon knows, aha, it's gonna the one that's gonna try to crush my head is coming through the seed of Abraham. And this, see, people don't understand this. That's why Pharaoh wakes up on a Monday morning and goes, kill all the firstborn of the Israelites. Why do you think he does that? Because there's a full-blown occult paradigm in Egypt at the time, and the dragon rules, and the dragon's whispering in Pharaoh's ear, kill them all. And that's what's going on here. It's a seed war. So you remember, when Abraham gets tapped out, what does Jesus tell him? It's just mind-boggling. Here's another supernatural clue. Hey, you're going to be a great nation. Through you, all the nations of the earth will be blessed. That's Messiah. That's the tap out. That's when he goes, your seed. And the dragon's been waiting for this forever. So once Abraham is tapped out, Buddy says, you're going to go down to Egypt for 400 years until the sin of the Amorites, Nephilim, comes into its fullness. This is what God always does. He waits. So on the field of battle, the seed of Abraham, the promised seed of Abraham and all those tribes, the enemy still doesn't know how it's going to manifest or where it's going to manifest, but he knows that it's coming from one of these guys, and they're in the field of battle together. It's the full-blown manifestation of a seed war. Then when you get to Daniel chapter 2, verse 43, their seed will mingle with the seed of men, but they will not cleave to them. I mean, when you put all that together, Jesus warns will be like the days of Noah. Well, when we put the seed war in, that makes sense. Otherwise, it's, they were eating and drinking and giving in marriage. Well, that's been going on for thousands of years. But what's different is the Nephilim, as the fallen angels, are the ones that are eating and drinking and giving in marriage. That's who the sons of God are. So the pastors need to start there, and then once they set the biblical foundation, then go into all signs and lying wonders, that men faint from fear from what is coming upon the earth. Even the elect would be deceived if ever possible. Satan comes with all signs and lying wonders. There you go.